Good evening, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you tonight? And thank you for listening to DolphinsTalk.com daily on this Wednesday, July the 7th. I am your host, Mike, joined as always by my sidekick and partner in crime, 2020 Miami Dolphins Fan of the Year, Big E, Ian Berger. Ian, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing awesome, Mike. I have missed our podcast. I know during the off season, there's not a lot going on, I guess, which is a good thing, right? So I've missed it, man. And I love the fact that we're here tonight and we've got some cool stuff to talk about.
Absolutely. Well, there's actually quite a few things to talk about, and we got a little bit of housekeeping to do as well. First things first, want to say hi to all our friends over at finheaven.com. Everyone go to finheaven.com, the largest Miami Dolphins message board on the internet. And, of course, all of our friends watching live on the I Am a Miami Dolphins Fan Facebook group run by the great Carlos Hernandez. And for all of you who have tuned in and are watching for the contest, later on in the show, we will be giving away a Xavier Howard piece of artwork that was put together by Carlos Hernandez at the I Am a Miami Dolphins Fan Facebook group. We have a trivia question. First one to answer gets it. It'll be later on in the show. So if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Twitter or if you're watching on Facebook, be ready and you can win this great piece of artwork.
Awesome.
Ian.
Yes, sir.
Big news from today is the Miami Dolphins officially announced training camp open to the public. Fans can attend, and tickets went on sale today for season ticket holders and tomorrow, I believe, for the general public. You want to talk a little bit more about this?
Yeah, I'm so super stoked about the fact that we are going to training camp, and we have been. It was just confirmation today from the Miami Dolphins that they are opening up the tickets, and they aren't for sale. You mentioned for sale, but they are free.
They are free. You just have to RSVP, right?
You have to RSVP. You have to get your tickets online. You get a mobile ticket. They're not giving away any paper tickets. And it's a maximum of 2 per account or per party. So tomorrow opens up for non-season ticket holders, and I'm going to give everybody a warning. You got to get those because it's free. Number one. Number two, it's at the brand new facility down right next door to Hard Rock Stadium. So I expect these are going to be some packed days at training camp. A couple differences this season, though, versus prior seasons for other people or other fans who have gone to training camp. Usually after training camp is over, fans have an opportunity to go meet with the players, get autographs, get pictures. Because we still have COVID going on, they decided not to do that this season, which I think is good, but obviously it's logical. Some kids are going to be disappointed. Some parents, I used to like to try and get the selfies with the players after the game or after the practices were over, but still we're going to have an opportunity to see them in practice. And first day of training camp is July 31st. That is called the Fan Fest. And then every day after that, it almost seems like every day there's a couple of breaks in between, but like August 2nd is National Ice Cream Sandwich Day. So I have a feeling there's going to be some ice cream at that one. Then you got a Teacher Appreciation Day, some that you definitely, and there's Salute to Service Day, August 17th. But there are some that I am strongly recommending if people can make it to these practices. August 19th and August 18th. So the 18th and the 19th, the Dolphins are having joint practices with the Atlanta Falcons. And by then, they're definitely going to be wearing pads, right? Because they're going to be practicing. And because they're practicing against another team, they're going to be going hardcore against the other team. When they're going against themselves, they're definitely hitting hard, but not when you're going up and scrimmaging against another team. So the 18th and 19th is an option there. There's a First Responders Day. And then the last one is Friday, August 27th. They're calling that Fins Friday. And if that's the only day you want to go, I may suggest that you choose a different day, because I know what Coach Flores did 2 seasons ago, which was his first year in the NFL. He did not have training camp on that last day, even though it was the Dolphins Fans Fest. That day he ended up he allowed the fans to go into the bubble and meet the players. So you didn't get the chance to see the field, practice on the field, but you got a chance to actually be in front of the players, and that's not possible this season. So if he decides to cancel it early, you might be stuck on that day on August 27th. So Anyway, I'm excited about this. That's Mike. That's what, 2.5 weeks away.
It's gonna be here before we know it.
3.5 weeks. Really it's right around the corner. I'm excited.
It's coming so fast, and I'm very happy that fans will be able to attend because last year fans were able to go to games, but it's, training camp is a whole different thing because it is more personal, it's more intimate. There's just a limited number of people, and you're seeing, the entire team out there running drills, practicing, working on stuff. It's a lot of fun. So for those of you who want to go, tomorrow morning, Thursday morning, and if you're listening to this later on Thursday, it might not be too late, all depending on the day. Just get on early and put in your request to RSVP on the Miami Dolphins website because you don't want to miss out. If you have an opportunity, take a day off in the summer, play some hooky. They're usually in the morning, usually.
Yep. So that's what they said. 9:45 is when you can get their practice start at like 10:10, and then they go till noon. So that's
they try to beat the heat, which God bless them, they should beat the heat. It's hotter than heck down there. Yep. So that's that. The other story, Ian, sort of leads back to your trip to the Super Bowl this past year in Tampa when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers played the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, you were there in person as the NFL Fan of the Year. You made the cut, one of the final 3 to go to the Super Bowl. And there were some cardboard cutouts in just random seats because it wasn't a full house. One of the cardboard cutouts was one of a Miami Dolphins fan. You grabbed it, scooped it up, and since that day in February, been on the hunt to see who is this fan to get him his cardboard cutout, because it sounds like, and you can expand more on this as you know more, he didn't know this was there. So why don't you talk more about the story, because we have found the person after all these months. The 5-month search is over.
Yeah, so I brought him upstairs with me. Usually he stays downstairs, but I'd like to introduce everyone. I'm just going to call him Sergeant Michael. He's been in the military for 13 years. Wow. He's a sergeant in the North Carolina area, and it's so interesting how this came about. And as you mentioned, my daughter and I were sitting at the Super Bowl in Tampa, and we got there about 3 or 4 hours before everybody else did. So all we had, it was us and about 30,000 or 40,000 cutouts. So it was pretty amazing to see that. And what ended up happening was as the night progressed, as the Super Bowl progressed, I talked to my daughter, and she's like, "Dad, there's a Miami Dolphins fan." I'm like, "Where?" Like I didn't even know it was back there. And she pointed to it, and I took a picture. And then I was like, at the end of the game, I saw people taking these, and I was like, all right, I'd heard that they were going to be put in some sort of recycling. That's what the story was. They were going to all be recycled. And I was like, well, you know what? We have a great community here on Twitter, on Facebook, in so many different places. I got to find this person. He's got to be around. He's military. That's why he submitted it this way. So back in February, I submitted it online. We got a lot of people that were sharing it, that were commenting, that were trying to help find him. I put it on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit. I also joined a family Facebook group in Nextport, California, because at the bottom there's a line. It actually says Nextport, like that was the file, and I put it in there, and no one knew who he was. So I ended up removing myself from that group. But I said this morning, it's been about 5 months since the Super Bowl, since I put that up there, and I said, let me just take a different picture, post it online, see if we can get some more traction, because the season's not too far away. What is it? 67 days away, I think is what it was this morning. And sure enough, went online. I think because I took a clearer picture today, someone took the image and had some sort of facial recognition software that goes throughout the entire internet to look to see if there's it's amazing that these things exist. Yeah, it's amazing. And sure enough, this picture came up. It was a little blurry, but it was small. And I put it online. I said, what do you guys think? Do you think this looks like a match? A lot of people said, yeah, it did. And then somebody took that picture and found the larger picture that it was associated with. And it was actually a ceremony of sorts where Sergeant Michael was getting a certificate. And on the certificate, sure enough, it said a first name, middle initial, and a last name. So with that, I posted that information online, and I said, hey, can anybody tell me, or can anybody get this information that can help me find out if this is the right person or not? So about an hour or two later, I got a DM from a retired military senior member,
Wow.
And he's like, I still have contacts. I'm going to go ahead and contact the Marines, because he told me it was Marines based on the uniform. I was not familiar with it. And he went and he contacted the Marines, and he actually got Sergeant Michael on the phone, and Sergeant Michael said, yeah, that's me. And I gave him my phone number. Michael called me. I started talking to him, and he's like, listen, this is insane. He's like, I thought this was a joke. When they said that there was a retired senior military member asking me if my picture was at the Super Bowl, I thought it was a joke. And I was like, listen, man. Well, the first thing I said to him was, I've been looking for you for 5 months. And then the second thing I said, which I think is the appropriate thing, is thank you for your service. You've been in the military for 13 years,
That's a long time, yeah.
Yeah. He went on to tell me that he was born in the islands. He grew up in Miami, and then he moved to North Carolina, for the military. But he's been a diehard Miami Dolphins fan his whole life. He's never been to a Miami Dolphins football game before in his life, even though he's a diehard fan. And he's just amazed at this whole thing. He's like, it was his wife's idea to put the picture, at the Super Bowl. It wasn't even his idea. It was his wife's. And I was like, did you even think about what possibly happened? He's like, it never even crossed my mind. I didn't think about it after that. So anyway, so here we are, and we are getting him to the Buffalo Bills game. He is going to come down with his wife, and I am going to be able to give this to him in person at the Buffalo Bills game, and he's going to be able to get down there. It's pretty amazing. The whole story is amazing.
That's an awesome story.
Out of all the people, right? There's 40,000 cutouts. Yeah. I got that one who was the only Miami Dolphins fan that I found there, and I found them. We found him. I don't want to say me, because it was really a group effort.
It was a community. Really, it was our little community on Twitter, on Facebook, on social media of all fans of the Miami Dolphins. Everyone came together, and once again, it's a great community we have of fans of the Dolphins that are on social media, even though at times it gets a little crazy and wild. They came together and found this, and it's an amazing story. And to sort of piggyback off that story, Ian, as we spoke about earlier, he will be heading to the game against the Bills. He's going to the game, and it's sort of on the house. Let's just say that. It's on
absolutely.
The house. But we at DolphinsTalk.com are going to send one military person this year to any Miami Dolphins home game of their choosing. And if there is a fan of the Dolphins that's in the military, they might be tied up right now. So it might be a family member. If you want to sort of nominate them, you can send me an email to dolphinstalk1977@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me on Twitter at DolphinsTalk. Give me a quick blurb. Tell me the game as well, because I have to get tickets for this game. I'll even throw in a parking pass. We'll get the whole 9 yards on us on the website, dolphinstalk.com. We will send someone who's in the military, who's going to be home in the fall for a home game of the Dolphins that they want to go to. You got to take care of the flights. You got to take care of the hotels or whatever. But we will get you in the stadium, 2 seats, parking pass on us on the website, dolphinstalk.com. So if you know anybody in the military who's going to be in town, if you're in the military yourself and you go, hey, I'm going to be in town for the game against Atlanta, I'm going to be in town for the game against Indianapolis, whatever, reach out to us, let us know, and we will pick one and we will announce it on the air here prior to the season.
Awesome. I'm excited about that. And just so you know too, so Sergeant Michael is going to have, he's got a tailgate already set up. He's been invited to multiple tailgates, and
sure he has.
He's got a line of individuals that are offering the beers when he gets to the stadium as well. So we're going to show the young man a great time.
He's going to a good game. He's going to a great outstanding game.
Yep.
Okay, let's talk some football, Ian. First topic, we're going to talk about Miami Dolphins. We're about a month away, like you said, from training camp. Less than a month away from training camp. 2021 season. Let's go over what are some realistic expectations for the Miami Dolphins this year. We got to be realistic about things. We don't want to be crazy over positive. They're going to win a Super Bowl. We're probably not going to win a Super Bowl. Also, let's just sort of gauge where you think the team is, where I think the team is, because, in the past few weeks, there's been a national media people out there saying our head coach is on the hot seat. Jason Lockenfora will not be mistaken for a genius. Although I did hear he was the valedictorian of his summer school class. So maybe he is a genius.
I heard they changed his name, that it's Jason Laka get clicks.
Something or other.
Right.
But, our head coach is not in the hot seat. I wrote an article about that this week. It's up on the website as well, to go check that out. But let's just start at the top. Ian, do you think the Miami Dolphins will win the Super Bowl this year? Not what you want. We all want them to, obviously. Do you think it's realistic that they could win it all?
I don't know if it's realistic per se, Mike. Would it totally shock me if they made it to the Super Bowl? It wouldn't totally shock me, but I would say I'd still be crying like a little baby if they did get there, because it's all of our long run. Right,
not
exactly.
Put money down on it, but
exactly.
Yeah, something we all want. Now, is it realistic that they could win the AFC East this year?
I think it is realistic, depending on what happens with. I always say, I keep saying that we're going to go as far as Tua can take us, which also means that we're going to go as far as the offensive line will protect Tua. So there's like a couple of different steps when it comes to that. Defensive wise, I feel very, very confident that we can keep up what we're doing. I know some people some fans were a little sad about losing, Kyle Van Noy, and some other players, but we've really gotten some upgrades at some key positions, in my opinion, right? Because again, I always say I'm not the GM. If so, I'd be paid to talk in this microphone, which I'm not. But I think realistically, it also depends on if Buffalo can stay at the same level they were. Can Josh Allen perform at almost an MVP caliber level as he did last season? And there are some things that have to work well for that to happen too.
Yeah. I think the Bills, on my power rankings, I had them either third, fourth, third, I believe. I think, they're one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah.
And outside of a rash of injuries that just totally wrecks the Bills' season, I think it'll be tough to unseat them in the AFC. It's not impossible.
Right.
It's going to be very tough. Nothing's impossible. We've seen that in this league. Teams go worst to first every year. I just think unless they're hit with a bunch of injury, because that team has pretty much no weaknesses anywhere, and they got some depth, and they have experience making it to the AFC East title game. I would be surprised about that. Now, I will say this. You did mention something about the quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, and you're 100% right. It's how far he can take us this year. And in life, there's either win or lose or win or learn. And hopefully last year was win or learn. And he learned a few things, even in the rough outings he had that he was pulled from with the Raiders against the Broncos, and that last game, even though he wasn't pulled in the last game against the Bills, wasn't his finest moment. If he's learned anything from that and there's any growth out of him, I think the next one, which comes down to can they win a wild card spot? Absolutely. And I think that is the realistic expectation. As I wrote in my article this week about our head coach, no, the seat's not hot, but there's expectations he needs to meet this year. And
Correct.
One of them with 3 wild card teams and 7 teams in the playoffs in the AFC, getting one of those 3 wild card spots is not asking for the moon.
I agree. And I think that getting to that wild card should be kind of a floor for us, to be honest.
Absolutely.
And if the wild card is the floor, then the ceiling is, again, winning the AFC East and then beyond, right? And then winning a playoff game, because it's one thing to get into the playoffs. It's another thing to be able to win in the playoffs. So I foresee us getting to the playoffs this coming season. I think it's natural progression of what Coach Flores has instilled with the players. And I mean, we have some very, very talented guys on this roster, especially some that we just drafted. I mean, Jalen Waddle, looking at some of the videos that he's put out recently, I always joke, actually, it's kind of throwing shade at someone who said something a couple of months ago, but the man doesn't have a limp. The man looks amazing on the field, cutting his speed, going from 0 miles an hour to 60 miles an hour. I cannot wait to see what he's able to do with Tua, because I think he could be the difference maker, just like Stephon Diggs was a difference maker for Josh Allen. Yeah,
absolutely. And it sort of leads into our next sort of topic, which is where does Miami sort of fall in the big picture of the NFL? As I released my pre-training camp power rankings this week, which everyone can go read up on dolphinstalk.com. And once again, as I wrote in the power rankings, some fans who are way too positive are probably pissed off at me because they think I have them too low. Some fans who are too negative and hate everything the team does are probably pissed off at me because they think I have them too high, which means I probably did a great job. I have them marked just right. Because when you piss off each side, that means you're
right on.
You're right on.
Absolutely.
So I had them 12th overall in the NFL heading into training camp. Now, of course, injuries change everything. There might be a trade or two made with who, which we won't mention, that could affect this ranking up or down. Maybe they add somebody, lose somebody. But as of today, I have them 12th overall. And I'll just go through the top 12 real quick.
Sure.
I won't go through the whole thing, obviously. 1, I have Kansas City. They've been to back-to-back Super Bowls, Ian, and their one weakness was their offensive line, and they fixed all 5 spots this year. I've never seen a team, they go, we got one weakness, we're going to fix it, and they just cleaned up on the offensive line. Tampa Bay's number 2.
Makes sense.
Still the champs. Still got Tom Brady. Can't knock them. 3, I have the Bills because I think they're right there with the Chiefs. 4, I put Cleveland because Cleveland last year won a road playoff game in Pittsburgh. Cleveland almost won a road playoff game at Kansas City, and if not for a bad whistle that day, might have beaten the Chiefs on the road. And they added Clowney. They added some guys in the secondary. They had linebackers. They improved a lot this offseason, and they lost almost nothing. 5 and 6, they got the Rams in Seattle. NFC West is brutal. You could flip-flop those, but right now it's how I got them. Green Bay 7 with the assumption Rodgers
question mark
plays.
Yeah, about Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers going to play. He ain't walking away from that kind of money. He's going to
sure.
play. He might not be happy, but he's going to play. 8, I got the Ravens because they're still the Ravens. 9, Tennessee. Now they added Julio to the mix. They're still Tennessee. And 10 and 11, I know some people get mad because they go, Miami beat them last year. Good, that was last year. It's not this year. Arizona, who added a lot of big names this offseason. And the Chargers, because, once again, fans of Dolphins are going to hate me. I think Herbert's a little better than Tua, and they fixed their offensive line, and they're getting guys back on defense. I got the Chargers, 1 spot ahead of Miami. Crucify me. But then I got Miami 12. I think that's where Miami is.
I think it's fair, Mike, fair. And especially since we're going into the season, right? And it was funny because I think we were having a Twitter fight with a Cincinnati Bengals fan who was talking about, yeah, they have a few actually, and he was talking about how the offensive line for the Cincinnati Bengals is so much better now than the Miami Dolphins, and I'm like, what are you talking about? You're talking about what you're seeing on paper? That maybe that offensive line for the Bengals is now better than the Dolphins. Let's wait to see that first game.
Even if it is, they still got a shitty defense.
Exactly.
They got a crappy defense. So I don't care if the offensive line is better. The whole other side of the ball stinks.
But my point being, nobody knows anything completely about their team until you see them in action. So it might look pretty on paper. Yeah, we upgraded this, we upgraded that. But what we also know is with an offensive line, you've got communication items that you have to take care of within those first couple of games. You've got to make sure that people are spaced out appropriately. You got to make sure that people know the count so that they're not creating false starts. There's a lot of things that go into an offensive line, especially when you mishmash it together. And I know there's been a lot of people that have said Joe Burrow may be in trouble. After he comes back from a surgery, he may still be a sitting duck back there. So I say that when I say going into the season as a number 12, I'm totally okay with that for the Miami Dolphins because let them win that first game against the Patriots. Because guess what? After that first week, if we win, we might not be number 12 anymore. No. We might be number 10. We might go up a little bit, right?
Yeah,
if we beat the Bills at home, we're going to continue to go up. So I'm, being at 12 is better than being at 25 or 30, which we have been the last couple of seasons. Yeah. So
and actually, I have on my list, I have Cincinnati at 25. And the teams I have after 12, I know, are teams that I think on paper in July, Miami is slightly better than. I got them over the Vikings, who a lot of weapons on offense, okay quarterback, not so good on defense. Indianapolis, if they still had Rivers, I'd have them in front of Miami. With Wentz, we'll see. Yep. Washington's a solid team. Fitzpatrick, streaky, all that stuff. Pittsburgh has all the talent in the world, but they got a lot of personalities that nobody can control. And their head coach has no control over that team. The Patriots, no quarterback. Great team. Here's the next 3. 17, 18, 19. Patriots, great team, no quarterback. Saints, great team, no quarterback. Broncos, great team, no quarterback. So not that Miami has solid answers at quarterback, but I'd rather take Tua over any quarterback on the Patriots than Saints or the Broncos heading into the season. So, I got him at 12 to start the year. Once again, it's just July, but on paper, that's where I see him. I think that's probably where most realistic people see him. If some see him at 13 or 14, okay, not the end of the world. Some see it at 10 or 11, whatever. It's one spot here or there. Not a big deal.
Forrest got us at 25, probably.
A lot, yeah. Well, he's got our coach one step out the door, which Jason Lockenfor. Ian, his first job was at McDonald's.
So was mine. So it's not.
Yeah, because it was the last time anyone said about his work. I'm loving it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No. It's because it was the last time anybody said about his work. I'm loving it because it's terrible work he puts out.
I like it.
Wide receivers. Let's talk about that next real quick.
This is the toughest one, man.
And I did a lot of writing this week over the holidays. So I have another article about the wide receiver logjam, which is a good problem to have for the Miami Dolphins. Last year, even when they were healthy, they didn't have a lot of wide receivers. This year, the talent level has increased in a lot of wide receivers. So if you want to read my article, once again, go to dolphinstalk.com. First question is, how many do you think they'll carry? Will they carry 5 wide receivers, 6, 7? Could they possibly carry 8? That's the big question, and I think it's going to be interesting. I think they're going to carry more than people think.
I think you're not going to see him carry more than 6. I think I think over 6 would be overkill, to be honest with you. So I'm sticking with the 6, and it wouldn't surprise me if he Coach Flores goes with 5 and chooses an Igbinoghene to take punt returns and kick returns, or Holland to take punt returns or kick returns. But it's going to be a very, very difficult decision to figure out who to keep on this team and who to let go. But you know what? We'll start finding out a lot of information about who's probably going to make it on July 31st, first day of training camp. I think we're going to start seeing that, because it is truly a major open competition. There's probably only 3 guys that I can think of that are guaranteed to probably make this team.
I'd say more than 3, and I think there's a chance to carry more than 6. Here's why. Okay. Will Fuller ain't going nowhere. Parker ain't going nowhere. Waddle ain't going nowhere. Preston Williams plays for so little money. And when he's on the field, he's very productive. Everyone says he gets hurt, but you know what? He got hurt last year, even though it's not proven, because I think a 350-pound man jumped on him after he scored a touchdown. So I'm not going to put that. So I think those top 4 are locks. Lynn Bowden was a 3rd-round pick who they traded for. Okay, last year this time. And Lynn Bowden has the flexibility to also play a little bit of running back in a pinch if he has to. Lynn Bowden can do a little bit of everything.
Too, right? He can be
little quarterback,
right?
Yeah. He did everything at Memphis. Lynn Bowden ain't going nowhere. So there's 5 right there. And we haven't even spoken about Grant. Grant, I think, is done because, like you said, Noah, Holland, and I think Waddle's going to return kicks. Look, I know people are afraid he might get hurt on special teams. We didn't draft a guy 6 overall not to play him. He might get hurt on any play. You can't coach in fear. You can't live in fear. Waddle is the best weapon we have at a returner. So that's why I think Grant's done. That still leaves you Hearns, still leaves you Malcolm Perry and Wilson. Yep. Now, here's what I'll say.
And Matt Collins, by the way.
Matt Collins and Robert Foster.
Yep.
So this is why I think they're going to carry like 6, 7, or 8. Because one of these guys will just be a special teamer, although they're technically a wide receiver. And I think it's going to be Foster over Hollins because they did sign him this offseason for a reason. Otherwise, if they were happy with Hollins, they would have probably not signed anyone else for that type of role. Right. So I think he's going to make the team, even though probably won't see time at wide receiver. Wilson, Perry, and Hearns. Perry, they drafted. And you can risk it by trying to stash him on the practice squad, but
it is a risk.
I don't know. It's a risk. Wilson, good player, obviously. He was off last year. Should be well-rested and healthy. Hearns, same thing. Here's why I like Hearns. Hearns can play. He's got size, number one. He can play both outside and inside. And in November 2019, Greer and Flores gave him a contract extension, which means in that miserable year, the fact they saw something out of him that they liked and give him an extension in November kind of tells me something. And in a pinch, if something were to happen to Will Fuller, if something were to happen to Waddle, if something were to happen to one of the big-name guys, he's got the flexibility to do anything. He can play, sort of step in. Look, he's not as good as them. Nobody's saying he is. but he ain't going to kill you there. Wilson, he can't play the outside. He's more of a slot guy, which is fine. And as we've seen with this front office, Ian, anytime they have a choice between youth or veteran, they go youth.
Yep, they do.
So if you're putting Perry up against Wilson, I think they're going Perry. If you're putting Perry up against Hearns, I think they'll keep both, but if it's one, I think they'll keep Perry. So that's why I think, and in my article I had Fuller, Parker, Waddle, Preston, and anyone who says anything about him going anywhere, Preston, he makes so little money, he ain't going nowhere. Because he's big, he's fast, and he's cheap. They're not getting rid of him. Lynn Bowden 5, Perry 6, Foster 7, Hearns 8, or whatever. I think they could carry up to 8, but with the notion Foster is more of just a special teams guy, not really a wide receiver. So it's really 7 with Foster. That's what I think they do. Once again, we'll find out. I think Grant and Wilson are going to have a tougher time to make this team. Wilson opted out. I mean, can't hold it against him, but it also is something he did. Now, Hearns did as well, but they gave him a contract extension, which I'm kind of reading into.
So I wanted to talk about Preston Williams, and I am of the belief, first of all, the kid is extremely talented. When we saw him in that preseason and it was kind of like his homecoming, it was, welcome to the NFL. He was undrafted and we picked him up from after the draft, and he did amazing things. But here's the problem, Mike. 8 games his first season out of 16. 8 games his second season out of 16. Right? You can have all the talent in the world, but if you cannot get on the field, you can't keep a roster spot. So
there's a 4th wide receiver, though. I don't care.
I understand, but the coaches now have to look at this roster. And from what I understand too, if I remember correctly, I think he was on the side during the mini camp recently. I think he was still rehabbing or doing something. I don't think he was fully able to practice. So if we get to training camp and Preston is not yet healed, I think that's going to have to be a conversation that Coach Flores has with the other coaches to say, look at these wide receivers that we have available to us. Who is going to give us the best option this season, right? And like I said, I want the kid here. I want him to be here, but I want him to be healthy. If they choose to cut him or whatever it is that they do with him, obviously I don't think they would trade him. I think
anybody would trade for him.
Right, exactly. I think that I would not be surprised. That's all I'm saying. I wouldn't be surprised if they
I would be a little surprised because once again, if this was last year, I'd see it more because, he went in the last year as a number 2 wide receiver, which, he needs to be on the field as a number 2. We need him as number 4. If he's not healthy, ain't the end of the world. So less pressure on him, less expectation from him. And I don't think you sort of part with that so quickly. Once again, he was a guy who this front office brought in. They rolled the dice. He had a lot of problems in college off the field. They rolled the dice on him, signing him as an undrafted free agent because nobody wanted to draft him. And, he's one of their guys. So I don't think they're going to kick those guys to the curb so fast, which is why I think Perry has a good chance to stay. Now, they might risk it with Perry, put him on the practice squad and see if something happens there. So we'll see. But I think they're going to carry more than some people think. And I think Preston's here to stay. I mean, it makes no sense to move on from it. I mean, unless he just can't go, which even then, they would just place him on IR and wait.
They could, and then they'll fill his roster spot with somebody else, and that's possible too. But
then they'll wait. But the 3 names, obviously, Hearns, Wilson, and Grant, the 3 veterans. Grant was obviously, he's been here a while. Wilson, when he has played well, but, he's not on the field much, opted out. Hearns, we'll see. That's going to be the interesting one.
Would you be mad if they kept Jakeem Grant?
No. Because at best, he's a 5th wide receiver and who will rarely be used at wide receiver this year.
Right.
He would just be there as a return. So I won't be mad. No, okay. I know some people are mad because,
I think they're surprised he's still on the roster.
There's no reason to cut him now. What's the rush?
Because I also think Mikey Salads actually announced that he was getting cut last week or 2 weeks ago. That was fun.
I can't believe you said that name on this podcast. Come on.
Listen, we're here to have some fun.
Yeah,
I know they're having fun out on social media.
I mean, if anybody's listening to that, please. No, but fans have to understand, like, why is he still? Why is he being cut? Well, why cut him in April when you can cut him in August? I mean, it sucks for Grant, but what's the rush for the Dolphins? There's no rush. Let's see what happens. Let's see if someone else gets hurt. Let's see if, maybe he shows up in camp and he doesn't drop a damn thing. Who knows? I doubt it, but let's see what happens.
You're right.
There's no rush. And plus, and if he does make the team, I get it. He's a very good returner. And, that will be pretty much his only role because, Waddle, Will Fuller, like we said, Parker, and he's not going to be – last year he was thrust into a spot because we lost Williams after 8 games. Parker, like the final 6 weeks, was limping around on one leg. Fought through it as best he could. God bless him, but he was still less than 100%. No Wilson and Hearns all year. He was thrust in the spot he's not supposed to be in. Well, this year, he won't be in that spot. Same thing with Williams. Preston Williams is not a number 2 wide receiver. You put him in that role, he's not going to have success. As a number 4, he's going to surprise the hell out of you because now he walks on the field, he's going to not be the focal point of anybody. When you got Will Fuller, Parker, Waddle, and all these, nobody's be paying attention to Preston Williams. And if he can stay healthy, he's going to eat on the third, fourth,
if he can stay healthy. If he can stay healthy.
Well, and something else that needs to be talked about this year too with Wilkins. Every time the team scores a touchdown, don't go jumping on players. Because I don't know if that's how he got hurt, but it sure as hell didn't help any. I know that. Right?
You're right. Although I'm of the belief that he was hurt going into the end zone before
he might have been, but I think the jump on him probably
the optics don't look good with that whole thing.
No, it doesn't. It's just we scored touchdowns before. Act like you've been there before. Everyone calm down. It's not that big a deal. All right.
It's a great damn game too, man.
It was a hell of a game. Best game of the year. Time for some trivia, and right now I am regretting I didn't post a picture up here on our video feed, but if anyone wants to see the picture, it is up on my Twitter feed at Dolphins Talk. Trivia question time. First person to answer this trivia question wins an awesome Xavier Howard piece of artwork. So, Ian, here's the question. You watch the chat.
I got it.
First person. Now, I know people are on their phones and stuff, and they can search real fast, but whatever. First person wins.
Somebody's got to know this. Somebody's going to know it. You watch.
Last year, Xavier Howard had 10 interceptions. Who is the only other player in Miami Dolphins history to have 10 interceptions in a season? Now, as we wait, I'm just going to do the Manscaped. This might take people a while.
That's a good idea.
We're going to go into Manscaped. It's that time of the show. The sun is out, bums are out, and hopefully your pubes are not out. Also, flip-flop season is upon us, and you're out here with those post-pandemic toenails. Don't worry, our friends at Manscaped have you covered. They just launched their 4th generation performance package and their Shears 2.0 nail grooming kit. Join the Manscaped movement by going to Manscaped. Do we have a winner, John? Congratulations.
John,
okay, as I stop this read. John, email your address to me at dolphinstalk1977@gmail.com, or if you're on Twitter, send it to either Ian at Ian693 or myself at Dolphins Talk, and we will make sure this artwork gets sent to you quickly. The answer, for those of you who aren't watching, is Dick Westmoreland, 1967 Miami Dolphins cornerback, the only other cornerback in Miami Dolphins history to have double-digit interceptions in the season. Dick Westmoreland.
Stanley almost got it too, I have to say. He was after John answered, so it's in our.
John gets it though. John's the
yes.
So John, email us your information at dolphinstalk1977@gmail.com, or send it to either Ian or myself on Twitter. Now back to my live read. Ian.
Go ahead.
This 4th generation trimmer features advanced skin-safe technology to reduce grooming. You don't want any ingrown hairs or snags on your boys before beach season. The Lawnmower 4.0 has 7,000 RPM motor and on-off travel lock and gives you the ability to turn the 4K LED spotlight on and off. If the power grid goes out in Texas again, you can use your Lawnmower 4.0 to illuminate the way with this LED light. This trimmer is also waterproof, so you can trim in the shower and not have to worry about your cleanup on aisle D. That's right. Aisle D. So everyone go to manscaped.com, use the promo code Dolphins Talk, save 20%, get free shipping. Manscaped.com, save 20%, get free shipping with the promo code Dolphins Talk, because you don't want to clean up an aisle D.
I think I'm going to need to use some of these promos when I'm talking to my girlfriends online.
Oh, yes. I will send them to you. I will absolutely send them to you. So last topic here as we wrap up. as we talk about expectations again, let's talk about some expectations for the Miami Dolphins rookies in the rookie class this year. There's an article up from Andy Davis, one of our writers at DolphinsTalk.com, who sort of talks about the Miami Dolphins rookies and their expectations. So I'm just going to go through the guys in the first 3 rounds because I think after that it gets a little tedious. Jalen Waddle, and I'll start here. I think Waddle's going to have a good year. I think he will be used as a returner. Like I said, I think Grant, his time will be gone. I think a realistic season for Waddle would be 5 touchdowns, roughly 700 yards.
I had the number 600 in my head. The reality of it though is he could blow that number.
He could
away.
do way more than that.
He's got such talent. He could blow that away. He could be 1,000-yard receiver.
Absolutely.
Because he's just got such speed, and the way that he breaks, the way that he is set up and practice, just like we're seeing in these pictures, he's going in one direction, and then at the drop of a dime, he is splitting to the next direction. And if he's able to do that and get on the same page with Tua, watch out. Yeah,
he's the type of guy who, if you're an opponent, you can't miss that first tackle. Because you miss that first tackle, he can run by everyone else.
Yep.
So, and that's what the Miami Dolphins have not had in many, many years. In God knows how many years. So I think Waddle will have and that's realistic. If you think he's going to come here and catch 100 balls and score, it's just, one, rookies don't do that in this league typically. So I think 5 touchdowns, around 700 yards, roughly, realistic. Okay. Jalen Phillips, the other first-round pick. Here's my 2 expectations. I don't know if he's going to start right off the bat week 1. He might. I don't know if he will. I think by the end of the year, though, you want him to be a starter. And I think in that 4 to 5 sack range, realistic, because I think he's going to be used as a guy with his athleticism that they're going to use to chase down the quarterback. They're going to move him around, outside linebacker, hand in the dirt, and they're going to use him to specifically chase down the quarterback on third downs and stuff. So I think 4 to 5 sacks, and by the end of the year, if he's not week 1, a full-time starter.
It's interesting about Jalen Phillips, and I heard this during the mini camp that they were moving him into a linebacker position from a stand-up position at certain times, and then at third downs he had his hand in the ground and he was going around the offensive line as a true defensive end. So it sounds like they're really going to test him as a hybrid player, and if that's the case, he may make a difference. But I think some people have talked about him possibly being the defensive rookie of the year. And again, that is very, very possible because this kid has strength, talent. And did you see how tall he was? He was standing.
Got the right head coach too.
He was standing right next to Raekwon Davis, who is 6'7", and they were neck and neck with each other. They are about the same size. So he is a very big man.
I think they want to get him work as an outside linebacker because he really is sort of stepping into the Kyle Van Noy role. I know everyone thinks Andrew Van Ginkel will play that role. Andrew Van Ginkel last year played he played a role that was not Van Noy's role. It was something totally different. So,
and why do you want to change that? He did well. He did well.
And he did great at it, and they're not going to change it. Now, he might be on the field more, but they're not going to put him in that role because that's not what he does. They probably want to see what they have in Phillips to see if they can have him because they know what he can do with his hand in the dirt. They can just put in the couch tape from UCLA and from Miami. They know what they got, okay? They want to see what he can do with his hands not in the dirt from an outside linebacker role. But at the end of the day, when it's like third and long, he can have his hand in the dirt because they need a pass rush. And he's going to be chasing the quarterback, which is why I think he'll get between 4 and 5 sacks this year because that's how they're going to use him. He's got the right head coach who's going to put him in the best spot to get the most out of him, even as a rookie. Javion Holland, the safety. Now, once again, I know a lot of fans are hoping or penciling him in as a week 1 starter. To start at safety week 1 in the NFL that's not an easy task. Now he might be on the field a lot, but I don't know if he's going to start. So my expectation for him is at some point this year he does crack the starting lineup. I don't know if it's going to be week 1, but I think at some point, whether week 4, 5, 6, 10, I don't know, that he's a starter. And once he's in the starting lineup, he just sort of never leaves it.
Yeah, Brandon Jones is going to be able to take that spot as well. And
I think Jones might start off. Yeah, I think it'll be him and Rowe to start.
So, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, no. But I do anticipate because all we've heard, from Coach Flores, from what we've seen from him is that this kid is extremely talented at the safety position. And I do think overall, it was an upgrade to what we had last season at the safety position. So it'll be really interesting to see when he gets that opportunity. I think he's definitely going to play week 1, but like absolutely. You said, I don't think he's going to start. Right. Yeah. Correct.
And it's also going to be interesting too to see with the secondary, because they moved on from Bobby McCain, who I was a big fan of, and I thought was, solid player. At times he got beat, but all safeties get beat in this league. It's a passing league. The rules are set up against them. They are looking to replace him with a second-year player and a first-year player, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out over the course of the year. Because with McCain, you sort of know what you got.
Right.
Solid and steady. He made plays when he needed to make plays. Steady player, veteran presence. They're going with a first-year guy and a second-year guy. A guy picked in round 3, a guy picked in round 2. It's going to be interesting to see how that safety spot sort of plays out this year. In a perfect world, as you move forward beyond this year, you want those 2 guys as your starters with Rowe, maybe, in a few years or in a year or so, move on from him. You want those guys, Jones and Holland, as your starting combo, but we're not there yet. Liam Eichenberg, same thing as Holland. I don't think he's going to start week 1, but I think at some point this year, kind of like last year, what they did with guys like Hunt, didn't start right off the bat. They sort of eased him in.
Yep.
And I think because their schedule, as we've spoken about the first month or so of the year, is so tough. You might want a guy like Fluker out there. You might want some veterans. You might want Jesse Davis out there. You don't want to, totally go with 3 second-year guys and a rookie.
Right.
Because if the wheels come off, it ain't going to – 1, it could get your quarterback killed, and 2, it can totally sideswipe your entire season. So I think Eichenberg – now, look, if he shows up in camp and just wows everybody, yeah, he's going to start week 1. Maybe someone else is riding the pine, like Hunt or Solomon Kinley, who knows. But I think realistic expectations, doesn't start right away, but at some point in the year, weeks 5, 6, 8, whatever, he's a starter. And once he gets in that lineup, he never leaves.
I agree with that. And, the other player that you didn't mention, and we just don't talk about him as much because I don't think he's as much of an impact player as we expected him to be, was Michael Dieter. Michael Dieter could be one of those rotation guys to get started. I mean,
I've lost all faith in him, I got to admit.
Yeah, well, he was a 3rd-round pick in 2019. Now he's entering his third season, third year in the NFL. So at this point now he needs to prove that he's more than just a backup, right? And he is one of those flexible players where you could put him in a couple of different spots, which the coaches absolutely love. But if you don't play one spot well, then you're never going to get opportunity to actually play on the field. So
yeah, they've been working him at center, I guess, a lot since at some point last year on, and it's almost a double-edged sword in that if he wins the job at center, I guess it's great because it means he improved enough, but it also means Matt Skura might be really bad too. So I don't know.
True. That is true.
I saw him twice as a rookie in person. Once again. He was a rookie. You're not going to hold it against him forever. But he just got manhandled and pushed around by, all the time. Last year, he hardly even saw the field. So, once again, this isn't the toughest offensive lineup to crack. So, if he makes any strides, he'll get on the field. It's not like he's unseating here, the Washington Redskins of the 1980s with the Hogs. It's not that. This is just a run-in-the-mill offensive line with a lot of young guys. Anybody can come out of nowhere and crack the starting lineup easily if you perform. So He has a shot. Last guy, Hunter Long. We have so many tight ends and so many quality tight ends. I don't even know. Realistic for him, I guess, over the course of a season, 15 receptions, maybe a touchdown or 2. I think that's realistic. I mean, we have Shaheen. We have, obviously, our star tight end and Mike Gesicki. We have, who's the other one's name I'm forgetting right now? Who's the blocking tight end?
Smythe, Durham Smythe.
And you got Long. We have 4 legit, and then we signed the guy from Cincinnati.
And we still got Chris Myrick, who
Chris Myrick, I know.
Yep. And then you got Jabri Blount, who's trying out as a tight end for the first time in his career, right?
Yeah. So I think Long. I think I'll make the team because he was very good last year at Boston College. 30 receptions for a backup tight end's a lot. I don't think he's getting 30 unless something happens to Mike Gesicki, which we don't want to see. I think 15 is like 15 tops, and maybe he catches 1 or 2 touchdowns. I think that's sort of for a backup tight end. I mean, I think that's probably the best you're going to get.
It's true,
especially with all the wide receivers we have now. Because I think the ball's going to go to those wide receivers a lot more than any tight ends outside of Mike Gesicki.
Agreed.
All right, Ian.
And I know you're not going to talk about Jared Dokes because
well,
I know he was a 7th round pick.
About him. No, we can talk about him because
I know I'm pulling for the kid, and I know he's a 7th round pick. And he's got an uphill battle. Once again,
it's not a tough lineup to crack with this running back class or room we have, And we'll probably talk about this on a show here before the open training camp. I know fans think they just look at the numbers of Myles Gaskin. Well, look at the numbers. Just look at the numbers. Last year, if he didn't get hurt and if he didn't have the virus, he would have done this. Yeah, those numbers are great, but there's also the bad numbers, which he was one of the worst running backs after he got hit. He couldn't break any tackles, okay? And he got no yards after first contact, which worries me a lot. It really does. So Dokes, once again, if he performs well, he absolutely wins some playing time here. So once again, Malcolm Brown, Jared Dokes, Salvin Ahmed, not exactly Peyton Brown and Smith. You know what I mean? This isn't a tough group to sort of crack and get playing time. We'll see with Myles Gaskin. I think Dokes has a chance. I said that the night we drafted him. I did a show with Tom. I think he got a shot. He's got just as good shot as anybody else in this running back room because once again, I don't think any of these guys are any good. They're okay. They're not great.
Agreed. And that's what I'm hoping for. Just, I'm pulling for the kid. I'll be looking for him at training camp in a couple weeks. Also.
Let me put it this way. I think at worst he's on the practice squad.
At
worst he's on. Now, he did have some health injury in college, I guess.
2 seasons ago.
Yeah. If he's past that, I think because once again, who else we got? We got to have one running back on the practice squad. I'd rather keep him than Laird.
It's true.
So I think at worst he's there. At best he, beats out someone like Salvin Ahmed. And I'd rather have him over Salvin Ahmed just because he's got some size. He's got a little power. And as John here, our winner, said, they're going to add a vet running back. I think they will. I think one person they won't add is Le'Veon Bell after reading that story about him this week. I don't even want to talk about social media.
We dodged a bullet on that one, didn't we, Mike?
We sure did. And I just want to have some fun, all in fun. My good friend Tom from this website, who for 3 years has been saying, we got to go out and pay Le'Veon Bell. Every time I say, don't do it, the guy's a head case. Tom goes, no. Tom, don't do it. He's a head case. Reading that article, baby mama number 6 ain't too happy. I can only imagine what 1 through 5 think, but number 6 ain't too happy. And she called him the worst bleeping human being on planet Earth or something like that. That is some story. So Le'Veon Bell, pay your child support. Pay your child support, Le'Veon. That's all for today's show. Everyone, be sure to follow Ian Berger on Twitter at Ian693 or follow myself at Dolphins Talk. Like I said at the top of the show, our military giveaway for 2021. We will send one military person and a guest of their choice to a home game this year. We will get you 2 tickets and a parking pass. And if you are a military person, email me at dolphinstalk1977@gmail.com or send me a tweet at dolphinstalk, or you can also send it to Ian. He'll pass it along to me for sure. And we will get that going. So check out that. Also, make sure you're following us on YouTube. Go to YouTube, search Dolphins Talk, subscribe to the page, and as always, Ian, smash that like button. You got to smash the like button on
and subscribe, right? Like
and subscribe. Smash the like button on the show, but subscribe to the page. So when we do a live show or any other podcast that is released, boom. We also have some Dolphins Talk fan series shows. We have a couple out right now. We have the one with Dalen Reinhardt. We have one coming up with Sean Moore. We have one coming up with Tone that nobody's going to want to miss. The greatest fan series episode we've ever done. And Josh actually did one with me, Ian, that I think is going to be out next week because, as you know, or you probably don't know, next week's my birthday. So everyone has 5 shopping days left. Just want to say that. So we might release mine next week. I recorded.
Well, happy birthday early to you.
Thank you. I wasn't fishing for that. It was just a joke. What else we got to plug?
Hold on, I got a Manscaped cologne I can send you for your birthday, man. This stuff smells really good.
Drive the ladies wild. Everyone go to manscaped.com. Promo code Dolphins Talk, save 20%. And also, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Go to the website dolphinstalk.com. Check out all the new articles, podcasts we have up there. And you have anything else, Ian?
No, sir. Just a fins up to everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Everyone
Love all the chat.
Have a great show, especially our friends in the UK, as I now salute you. Have a great show, and we'll talk to you again after a while.
Fins up. Good night, everybody.